There's a specific kind of person you've met maybe 2 or 3 times in your life. Nothing seems to touch them. Insults slide off. Chaos doesn't rattle them. They're not cold, and they're not faking it. They just seem to be operating from somewhere the rest of us can't reach. And you probably assumed they were born that way, or that they meditated their way there, or that they simply had it easier than you. None of that is it. What you're looking at isn't a personality. It's a position, one that anyone can move into, and almost no one does, because it requires giving up things that feel like survival. Let me be clear about what I mean, because this word gets ruined. When I say awakened, I don't mean enlightened. I don't mean floating above it all, chanting, feeling one with the universe. I mean something colder and far more useful. A person who finally sees the game everyone else is still lost inside. The invisible game of who moves who spends whose energy, who controls whose reactions. The unshakable person isn't at peace because they escaped the game. They're at peace because they finally understand it and stopped losing. And when you watch what they actually do, it comes down to 5 things. But here's what nobody tells you. All 5 are the same thing, wearing 5 different masks. Stay to the end and I'll show you the single root underneath all of them. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it changes everything. This isn't motivation. Nobody's going to tell you to raise your vibration. This is a cold map of how these people actually operate. And it runs on a principle a Chinese general wrote down 2,500 years ago. His name was Sun Tzu, and he said the whole of strategy comes down to one line. Bring others to you. Do not let them bring you to them. Move others. Refuse to be moved. Hold that sentence. Everything that follows is a different face of it. That's what we do here. We take the oldest strategic minds in the world and use them on the life you're actually living. Ancient answers to modern walls. If that's useful, subscribe. The first thing they do is stop reacting. Notice I said stop. Every one of these 5 is a subtraction, not an addition. You don't become unshakable by adding armor. You become unshakable by removing the handles other people were using to move you. Here's the mechanism. Every time you react, you've told the world what moves you, and anything that can move you can be used to move you. The person who knows exactly which comment makes you defensive owns a button, and they'll press it whenever they need you off balance. The awakened person went quiet, not weak, not suppressed, but genuinely unbothered, and the moment they stopped reacting, every button on them stopped working. You cannot steer a person who won't turn the wheel for you. Non-reaction isn't passivity. It's the removal of every handle you were handing out for free. And here's the part that took them the longest to learn. Most of what provokes you was never about you. The person who lashed out was managing their own pain. The insult was someone else's storm, and you just happened to be standing in the rain. Once you truly see that, you don't have to suppress the reaction. It simply doesn't fire because there's nothing there to take personally. The second thing they do is stop explaining themselves. The awakened person didn't become unlikable. They became indifferent to being liked. A completely different thing. They would rather be respected than liked. And they understand that the two often can't coexist, because being liked frequently requires making yourself smaller, more agreeable, less honest, easier to swallow. And the instant you stop needing someone's approval, every bit of leverage that approval gave them evaporates. You can finally say the true thing, refuse the unfair request, walk away from the deal, not because you've become hard, but because you're no longer holding your own freedom hostage to whether a particular person is pleased with you. That's not coldness. That is what freedom actually feels like. And almost nobody has it, because almost everybody is still auditioning to be liked by people they don't even respect. The fifth thing they do is stop trying to change people. Instead, they design around who people already are. Most of your frustration with others comes from one doomed project, wanting them to be different. You want the selfish person to be generous, the unreliable one to be dependable, the person who's shown you exactly who they are to somehow become someone else. And you're shocked every time when they don't. The awakened person gave up that fight entirely. They accept people as they actually are, not as they wish they were. And here is the cold turn. They build around it. They stop appealing to someone's better nature and start aligning with their actual self-interest. They stop hoping the self-interested person will suddenly act against their interest for your sake, and instead, they arrange things so that when that person chases exactly what they already want, they carry you along with them. You stop needing people to be good. You start working with what's true. This is the coldest of the five, and it's also, strangely, the most peaceful, because the war with reality is over. You are no longer angry that people are what they are. You simply see them clearly and move accordingly. Now, before the root that connects all five, I have to be clear, because every one of these can be twisted into poison. None of this means becoming a walled-off, cold, disconnected person who feels nothing and needs no one. That's not awakening. That's just a lonelier cage with a better story attached. Non-reaction is a tool for the arena, not a mask you fuse to your face with the people you love. Not needing approval doesn't mean not caring about anyone. Designing around human nature doesn't mean manipulating the people who've earned your trust. The whole point of removing these handles isn't to have nothing touch you ever again. It's to choose, deliberately, what you let in and who. The unshakable person isn't numb. They feel everything. They've just stopped letting people who mean nothing to them run their inner world for free. So here's the root, the single thing underneath all five. Look at them again. Stop reacting. Stop explaining. Stop leaking energy. Stop needing approval. Stop trying to change people. Every one of them is the same move, taking your center out of other people's hands and putting it back inside yourself. That's the whole thing. The reason the world can move you is that your center of gravity lives outside you, in other people's reactions, opinions, approval, behavior. Your peace depends on how they treat you. Your worth depends on what they think. Your energy belongs to whoever demands it. You've been carrying your own center around in other people's pockets, and then wondering why you feel so unstable. Of course you feel unstable. Your foundation is standing in someone else. The awakened person did one thing, 5 different ways. They brought their center home. And once it's inside you, nothing external has leverage anymore. Not because you built a wall, but because there's nothing on the outside holding the thing that matters. Sun Tzu's whole philosophy, 25 centuries early, they became the one who moves and cannot be moved, because the thing that would be moved is no longer out there to grab. So let's go back to that person you've met a few times, the one nothing seems to touch. You thought they were born different. They weren't. They just quietly took their center back from a world that was holding it, one handle at a time. And every one of those handles is one you can reach to starting today, for free, before you've changed a single circumstance in your life. You've felt this compulsion. Someone misunderstands you, judges you, gets you wrong, and something in you needs to correct it, needs them to see the full picture, understand your reasons, agree that you were right. So you explain, and it rarely works, because the people who most need your explanation are usually the ones who decided about you before you opened your mouth. The awakened person figured out that being understood by everyone is a cage. To be understood by someone, you have to make yourself legible to them, shrink yourself down to something that fits inside their existing opinion of you. And they stopped auditioning for that. They let themselves be misread by people whose understanding they don't actually need. They stopped spending their life in the courtroom of other people's opinions, defending a case that was never going to be won. Watch what that does. The person who over-explains is announcing that they need your agreement. The person who states their position once and lets it stand, no defense, no justification, no anxious follow-up, is announcing that they don't. And nothing signals real power like the absence of a need to be validated. The third thing they do is stop giving their energy away for free. Your energy, your attention, your focus, your emotional fuel is the only real capital you own. Money you can rebuild. Time passes no matter what. But energy is the thing that turns everything else into results. And the world is structured to extract it from you in 1,000 tiny withdrawals you never authorized. Every provocation, every quick question, every bit of drama someone offloads onto you, every fight you get pulled into, each one is a small deduction from an account you never check. The unshakable person guards that account like their life depends on it, because in a sense, it does. They don't engage with every provocation. They don't accept every request. They don't enter every fight that's offered to them. And life offers you a fight almost every hour. Most of them, they simply decline, not out of coldness, out of the understanding that a person who can be pulled into anything has nothing left for the things they actually chose. This is Sun Tzu exactly. Every time something external pulls you, a reaction, an argument, a demand, you have been brought to the enemy's ground, spending your energy on their terms. The awakened person brings the battle to their ground, or doesn't fight at all. They decide what their energy is for in advance, and let the rest go. Pause for a second and be honest. How much of your energy this week was spent on things you chose, and how much was pulled out of you by things other people started? One word: hold it, because for most people, almost the entire tank gets drained by fights they never chose to be in. The fourth thing they do is stop needing to be liked. This is the hardest one because the need for approval is wired in deep. We're social animals. Being liked once meant being safe. But in the adult world, the need to be liked is the single largest handle anyone has on you. The moment someone knows you need their approval, they control you, because they can grant it, withhold it, or threaten to remove it, and you will bend to keep it. So don't think about how to become calmer or stronger or more disciplined. Think about who you're becoming, not the person whose peace, worth, and energy are scattered across 100 other people who never asked to hold them and don't care if they drop them. The person whose center sits where it always should have, inside, where nothing external can reach it and nothing external can run it. And here's the thing. Sun Tzu was one of an entire generation of minds who mapped how power and the self actually work. The philosopher who saw human nature without illusion, the merchant who built and rebuilt fortunes by moving before the crowd. We're decoding every one of them, one mind at a time. If even one of these 5 showed you a place where you've been carrying your center in someone else's pocket, then you already understand why most people will spend their whole lives being moved and drained and unsettled and calling it life. A few will bring their center home. Decide which one you are.